Ever get that, like, totally blank feeling? Staring at your computer, the clock ticking down to your deadline, and the idea as well is just dried up.
Oh, tell me about it. Happens to the best of us. Or maybe it's the opposite problem. A mountain of research, tons of notes, but trying to wrangle it all into a coherent narrative for your listeners feels impossible.
Ugh, the worst, like trying to fit puzzle pieces together in the dark. But what if there was something out there, some kind of like AI assistant that could help us brainstorm, get organized, maybe even like unstick us when we hit that writer's block wall?
Okay, now that you mention it, that's exactly what got me intrigued about this whole Notebook LM thing.
NotebookLM, is that like a new app or something?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's being pitched as way more than just your typical note-taking app. We're diving into some excerpts from their promotional podcast today, and from what I'm gathering, it's all about structure, like actually helping you organize your ideas in a way that translates directly to a better listening experience.
Makes sense. Because let's be real, nobody wants to listen to a jumbled mess of half-baked
Yeah,
thoughts.
exactly. And think about the collaborative aspect, too.
Yeah.
The source material actually talks about real-time collaboration with co-hosts, which could be huge.
Wait, hold up. Real time. So, like, no more going back and forth over email with drafts.
That's the idea. If it works as advertised, it could be a game changer, especially for those of us who've ever tried to wrangle feedback from multiple people.
Okay.
Well, it can be a nightmare sometimes.
Understatement of the year. But okay, let's get real for a second. The AI thing, it's everywhere right now, right? AI powered this, smart that. So is Notebook LM actually using some next level AI, or is this mostly just like marketing hype?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
From what they're claiming, it sounds like Notebook LM is aiming a bit higher than just, basic keyword analysis. Think about it, AI that doesn't just pick out themes in your research, but actually understands the context, maybe even suggests connections or narrative arcs that you might have missed.
Wow. That's kind of blowing my mind a little. So it's less like a digital notepad and more like having an extra brain in the room?
Right, almost like a co-host who not only takes amazing notes, but can also anticipate where you're going with a thought and offer up some seriously insightful feedback, all in real time.
Okay, now I'm really interested. And speaking of co-hosts, didn't the source material also say something about integrating with the tools we're already using?
Yep, seamless integration is the dream, right? But I've got to admit, as someone who's been let down by more than a few plug-and-play promises before, I'm cautiously optimistic. We all have our workflows, our go-to apps. Whether this really slots in smoothly, well, that remains to be seen.
True. And I hate to be a downer, but while the whole effortless productivity thing sounds amazing, don't we have to at least consider the potential downsides of handing over so much of our creative process to an AI?
We absolutely do. I mean, we can't just ignore the bigger picture, even with something like podcasting, which on the surface might not seem as if it has huge ethical implications. What happens when we start prioritizing the AI's suggestions over our own gut instincts, our own unique voices?
Right. Could this lead to everyone's podcast starting to sound the same?
That's a scary thought. And it goes way beyond just NotebookLM specific features.
Yeah.
Right? The bigger question is, as AI gets more and more sophisticated, more integrated into our creative processes, how do we ensure that we're not losing what makes our work, well, human?
It's a balancing act for sure. Because as cool as all these AI tools are, at the end of the day, it's the human element, our stories, our insights, even our flaws that make podcasts worth listening to.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Maybe that's the challenge for all of us moving forward, not just in podcasting, but in any creative field.
Oh.
Figuring out how to leverage the power of AI without losing ourselves in the process.
Now there's something to think about.